Bonjour! Today I want to do a little fun side project. I got gifted a 3D puzzle of Hogwarts from my wonderful husband. After making it, which was a lot of fun, I decided why not make a 3D model of it on SolidWorks so the fun continues with this puzzle. I decided to make a tutorial out of it in case somebody is looking for a little fun project to do and work on their SolidWorks. For me, it's fun anyways. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to keep it very simple. I'm not doing it as I would at work. I'm going to do it all in one multi-body part. To start any conceptual design, I usually have to get a good view on what I need. In this case, we already know we're replicating the model, but where do I start? I see two big structures. There is this part over here, and then there is this part over here. And anything else is secondary structures that either add some detail or do connections. So I think I'm going to start with this green structure over here, and then in a separate part video I'll do this part. I think the first part is a little bit more complex because you see all the detailing of the chimneys and stuff. And the last one and the easiest will be this part. So part 3, part 2. Sorry for my handwriting. I'm writing on my laptop screen. Part 1. So that's how it's going to go. Okay, first part, I look at the structure and break it into common shapes. I'm not putting any of the windows that are not extruding, the doorway, the windows, stuff like that. Instead, I'll do the bodies that extrude, and I'll keep them solid just to keep it very simple and beginner friendly. So what I see is that there is a big block here, and then there's a second block in the front, as you can see here. And then there are the triangular prisms. Those are the basic blocks. After we have all the details of the chimneys, which are going to take a little while to make, but that's for the fun of it. We're doing this for fun, okay? This is fun. So without further ado, let's get started. First, I'm going to start with the block. And I've already measured this. Your girl be organized. 12.5 centimeters. We're talking centimeters because I'm Canadian. Sorry about my American friends. And I'm living currently in France, which also use a metric system. Sorry, not sorry. This length over here is 23.5 centimeters. This width over here is 10. With that, we could make our rectangular prism. And then after that, we could do the top, which have the following dimensions. The height of this is... Okay, I'm not that organized because I realized I did not write down the height of this. 1 second, please. We don't need the length because it's the same as here, the 23.5. And we don't need the width because it's the same as the 10 over here. And there is this part, which the height is same as the 12.5. However, the width is 5 centimeters and the height 4.5. Now, everything's approximate. We're not trying to claim that this 3D model is going to be the absolute perfection because, again, this is for fun. Okay, with these dimensions, now we could start our basic building blocks. Allons-y. Okay, there's different ways we could do this. I'm just going to make a sketch on the top plane and extrude it in the Y direction. So let us do that. This one we said is, now my units are in millimeters. I can't change them to centimeters, but I think I'll just keep everything in millimeters. It's no problem. Moving the decimal one place over. Voila. Okay. We had this as 10. What? Oh yeah. Oopsies. That's going to happen a few times. I already know. Okay. Extrude 12.5. Okay. Now I should do the second block, the entryway, at the same time. I think I shall actually modify the first one and I'll just keep them together. I want to make sure that it's centered. I'm just going to make sure that the center of the line is vertical with the origin, which is the center of my big block. Now we need to dimension. This one we said 5, so 50. That's good. When it's fully defined, it turns black. And when it's not, that means that it's not fully defined. So this, which means the blue, I can move it around like this. You want your sketches to always be fully defined, or else sometimes things get messed up and the sketches move and you don't notice it, and it's a nightmare to fix. So now that we have our sketch 1 that has both rectangles, and because they have the same height, we could select both. You see, it gives you a little preview. This looks good because they have the same height. We're extruding it the same amount. It's easy to do it at the same time. Next, I want to put the little hats on them. So we have one here, which has a different height triangle. They start from the same base, the top of the block. But this one is smaller, and this one is bigger height. And their extrusion is different too. This one is not very deep. It's the same depth as this, which was 2 centimeters, I think. This one is 23.5. So I'm going to do either one sketch and extrude 2 different times, or 2 sketches. We'll see. That's going to be a surprise for me too. By the way, don't make the same mistakes I've made a few times and lose everything. So save it. It is saved. I'll choose the same sketch to show you how to maneuver around using the same sketch that has 2 different shapes and how to extrude it. So I'm going to make the sketch on this plane. So I right click and sketch. Okay. So we're going to make a triangle. I'm going to make sure it's coincident with this corner. This shows a little guideline that it's centered around the origin, which is good. You see the yellow sign on the right of my mouse. I need to plug in my laptop. This coincident means that the line I'm drawing coincides with a point, which is the corner of my small block. It needs to be vertical and coincident with this. Once it's grayed out like this, it means that it's a closed loop. This line cannot be moved because it's black. Why? Because one end is here and the other end is there. These two, although it showed that it was in the guideline, it was vertical, we could move it around and we could have uneven sides. So we just have to put a condition. But first, I'm going to plug in my laptop so it doesn't die. So I was saying we need to fix our triangle. First of all, we're going to give the constraint that these two are exactly the same, which means that our point can only go vertical now, which is good because we have to dimension it with the height of the triangle we had measured before, which was 45 millimeters. Okay, so that seems good. I'm gonna now do the bigger triangle. This time it's going to be coincident with here. We cannot extrude it if it's not a closed shape. If I had only put this line and not this bottom line, then I can't extrude it except as a thin body. I think it's called thin body extrusion, which is a different thing. We're not looking for that. Now I'm going to do the same constraints. Bam. I'm going to make this vertical with this. It's always better to have a base coordinate, for example, the origin, to reference from. If ever this changes, we don't want this point also change, unless, again, this section is reliant on this section, which is not the case in our example. Okay, so this one is 90. Both our shapes are colored in. That means they're closed contour, and there were black edges, which means they're fully dimensioned. Good, good, good. Looks like this. Now, first part, I'm going to extrude the little one. By the way, you could hold down the right, and here are common features. You could customize this. At the top is the extrusion. You see, sketch 2 that we just did. But we don't want all of the sketch 2. We want to start with this triangle, except obviously in the wrong direction. We're not going to do blind because here, this triangular section, there's a better way to extrude it. We know that it goes from here to this plane. Let me show you on the image. You see, this triangle extrudes until this plane, or here on the block, because we don't have this part yet. So instead of putting the thickness of this, the better way is to actually reference the extrusion amounts using this wall. Let me show you. Okay. Right now, blind means that in any direction, we could put any number and extrude it. Instead, we're going to choose the option up to surface. I want this from the sketch plane. We have other options, but here we're just choosing from the sketch plane, which started on this plane. We're going to extrude it to this surface. Perfect. That's what I want. We could choose the merge body. I will merge it. If ever we need to, we could split the bodies, but I'll merge it just so it looks cleaner. It means that it combines, it becomes one body. Okay, you see this part is looking good. Now we're going to go to the second big triangular prism we have, which is this. We're going to do extrusion again. We're on sketch 2. If ever nothing's selected, I could go and select sketch 2. Right now, when you use a sketch, meaning you applied a feature on it, it gets hidden under that feature. So if ever you need to reuse the sketch, you could just open that feature and find it. This time though, I actually want just this. Sketch 2 region 1. That's what this triangle is. If we use from sketch plane, it'll extrude it from here to where we want it. But we don't want that. We want it actually to start from this plane. So where this triangular prism, the small one, ended, we want this to start. We could offset it by giving a number, but again, it's better to use the geometry we already have. So I'm going to do surface face plane. And I'm going to select this. Next, we can do blind, but I want to do up to surface like we have now. We don't need to set the direction because we're using 2D sketches. So it could only be extruded, in our case, Z direction. But if we had a 3D sketch, it could be extruded in different ways. I'm going to choose this because we want it to come all the way here. Now, look at this. In the preview, there is a hollowed out triangle. Why? Because when I chose this contour, it removes this triangular part. So that way it does the full triangle. I selected the small one. Instead of SolidWorks thinking that I'm taking a big triangle and hollowing out the small one from it, I'm going to just use both triangles to show that it's a filled big triangle like this. You see it starts on this surface and goes to this. I will merge it again. Okay, this is looking good. At the end, we could also add colors and stuff. Don't worry about that. Let's go back to our image. We've done this part and this part. Those were probably the easiest parts we needed to do. Next, we could choose to perhaps do these little chimneys or these. I think I shall try one of these. Thankfully, with SolidWorks, we don't have to do every single one because we could just do a linear pattern. So we just have to draw one here. And I don't know if you can see, but actually there's 11 chimneys on both sides. So there's here and here. The part that's a little tricky is that the chimneys, they're not rectangular prisms like this. Actually, it's slanted. So let's say we do a sketch on this plane, like we make a plane here and do a sketch on here. If I extrude that, it will extrude to the height I want, but then it's going to have a rectangular prism. And yes, I could do that and then use a split function using this plane over here to split it. But I could also just make another plane with the height I want, which here I measured as 10 millimeters, and then extrude it from this plane to the surface. I'll show you. The other ones are just rectangles that you extrude and offset little by little. Let's see how that would be in real application. So, like I said, I want to make a reference plane. I want to make a plane that's 10 millimeters above this line. That's the start of the lower part of the chimney, and I'll extrude it down. To do that, I could make a plane. The first reference, I'm going to take it top plane, so it's a parallel. I can put, so technically I know the heights that I want, so it'll be the height of this edge, which was 125, plus I'll do 10 millimeters, which is the height of the bottom part of the chimney. I could have also made another plane with vertex of this. I'll actually show you. So let's say this was here. I could do a second reference of this reference plane. I put the top plane, so that way it shows it's parallel to the top plane. Second reference, I put this vertex and that it's at the level I want it. Now, I don't know how to actually raise it 10 millimeters, so instead it was 125 plus 10, so 135, whatever. Okay, we're doing shortcuts. Okay, so I want to sketch on this plane. Right-click, sketch, and I'm going to make a square. The first one starts right at the edge here, so I'm going to do a coincidence. this. I right click, it's the same thing that you do with the features. You could do that in Sketch too. Right click and I move up, it gives me the dimension. I believe I measured at 5 millimeters. And I could do 5, or I could say that these are equal because I'm assuming that's a square. At the same time, I'm going to do the little extrusions that are on top of your chimney, the little details. So to do that, I'm going to simplify it a little bit, and I'll just do offset. It is an offset entity function, which takes the entity you give. I press on one edge, but because it's closed, it selects all of it. And because I said select chain, I'm going to try doing one, but it goes inside. So I'm going to reverse. Okay. Yeah, let's try that. And I'll do the same thing a couple times. I'm going to do reverse again, so it goes inside. Here, I could only do this a couple times, so maybe I'm going to do 0.5 instead. Okay, this seems better. Same with this one. I'll change it to 0.5. Okay, now I could do it, because in the actual puzzle, it'll repeat like 6 times. I want to make the difference between them a little bit smaller, so I could repeat the pattern a few times. Reverse. Good thing it takes the value that you last put, so you don't have to do it again. And repeat, reverse. Too bad it doesn't keep the reverse checked. I could do, for example, 2.5, maybe. Yeah. Do I want to? Yeah. You know what? Yeah. Let's do it. Okay. So now we got our sketch, which looks a little busy, but fear not. Planes usually don't get hidden automatically, so I'm going to hide it myself. Extrude. So first I'm going to start with the outer corner. Here, I'm going to switch the direction. Instead of doing up to surface, which might work, let me see. Yeah, it works. You could also do up to next. Oh, it's not here. Okay. I don't know why it's not giving that as an option. Oh, was this here before? Am I losing my mind? And you could also do up to next, which just goes to the next body, from the surface to the next body, or you could do up to surface and select this. I'm just going to do up to next. However, I am going to check off the merge, so I could actually see the line, the line differentiating this part of the castle and the chimney. Okay, let's see what it looks like. Okay, that's fine. If we had done merge, this line here and this line here would not be there. As you see, the line for the triangle isn't appearing because we merged it. If we uncheck it, it would show. Okay, so that's fine. We need the sketch again. And this part load. I want to select this for 2. And we're going to do blind. Same problem with the big triangle we were trying to extrude. I'm going to do all of it. It's not hollowed. Okay, this should be good. Let's see. Oh, I forgot one. The little one that I decided to add in is giving me trouble. Oh, this one says contour. Give me. Did it work? It didn't seem like it. Okay, seems to be okay. I'm actually gonna let this sketch show until I'm done with it. Except I extruded the outside, very outside too, which is not the point. So I'm gonna remove this part. See, now it's making the little ridges. I'm doing it from this surface because I don't need it to extrude from this surface, where the sketch plane is, 2 millimeters. I want it from here, 2 millimeters. If you see, if I just do this part extrude like this from the sketch plane, you don't see it. So that's why I say from here. Now you see it. So you see, I picked this one by accident, so I'm gonna try this one to see how aesthetically it looks. I could hide this. Did I check? This is unmerged, which is good. I don't know why it merged it here. This one is this block, which is this one. Let me see if I unmerge it, what it looks like. Oh, okay. I'm not sure why. I think I know why. Because I did it from a sketch plane. Let me try this. Yeah, I don't know. But it looks okay now. Not bad. you look at here. So now we're going to take this that we've made and we're going to repeat it. Okay, to pattern this, you could rename these. When I'm doing it for professional reasons, I do rename because all this seems a little confusing. Here in this tab, we have the bodies and we have this big one and we have this part of the cheminée. Let me zoom in, this part and the top part. So I'm actually going to combine them. It's cleaner and it's easier to pattern. You could also select it from here. And we're going to add. Do show preview. This will be a body. Good. Now you see there's this one, which I'll put main. And this chimney small. Also, a tip, if you have multiple features just for one body, you could actually group them from here to here. If I select, so shift and then click the last one, I could actually add to a folder, say chimney small, just so it looks a little cleaner. Don't forget to save because as you see, my SolidWorks is bugging a little bit and if it crashes, small. I want to do a pattern, linear pattern of this. So I'm going to go to my linear pattern. I'm just going to choose what it is. Here I would have to select all. Instead I'm going to do bodies. And that way, I go here, solid body. I only have two, main and chimney. I want the chimney. It selects all of it. And then I go up here. I only need one direction. The direction is along this edge. That's going the wrong way, but that's okay. We're going to change that. So give, for example, 20 milliliters in a different direction, etc. But I haven't measured the actual distance between the chimney. I know I want the chimneys to come all the way here. So what I'm going to do is select my reference, this. And I'm going to, you could either do it with the centroids, the middle of the body, or I could select what reference of the body to use. I know that the outer edge here needs to end here. So I'm going to choose this point. Instead of giving a distance, I think we counted 11. Whatever. So now we have 11 chimneys that start here and go up to this reference. And I gave the specific vertex this point here to end at our reference. So if I say OK, see that it's what we're looking for. Now, I'm not going to do the other side because there's other detailing I'm going to add here. And then I'm going to actually just mirror it. So I won't do that right now. I'm going to do all at once. Always try to minimize the number of procedures you want to perform just to be as efficient as possible. Now, if we go back to the picture, we've done this part in the main blocks here and here. But now we have these chimneys to add, which are the same, but they originate at a different point. Although they're at the same height. So maybe I'm going to use the same plane again, but do a separate sketch. Instead of using this edge as a point to be coincident with, I'm going to make it this edge. So we'll see what that looks like. So what I'm going to do is, I think I could copy this sketch directly. So I selected it, I do Control C, and then let's go to the plane that we had, sketch, paste. Okay, so you see that it's pasted over here. I'm going to, oops, no, that's not what I want. I'm going to select, let's see if we could move entities. And I want to move, this, let's say this. Okay. From 2. I don't have the actual x coordinates, but so we do this. Okay. I'm going to keep relations of them from this point to this point. Now you see it's still blue because there's no dimensions. It just copy pastes the lines that you have, but it doesn't carry over all the dimensions you have. So this, let's see why. Okay, so it's not exactly coincident. So I did this, now I do this. It's a little tedious. I'm sure there's a better way, but I didn't think of a better way. My bad. Let's see. Where's my midpoint? Is my midpoint? Oh, here. So this is a filter. It only selects midpoints. Let's see if it works. No, it doesn't. It's okay. Let's see. This. It's a little tedious. I'm not so happy with it. I think it's easier to offset. Don't you think? Yeah, let's do that. I think if I just restarted the sketch, it would have been faster. But I'll leave this in just so, you know, you see the thinking behind design. Taking away, maybe not thinking which is the most efficient way, and then regretting it later. Okay, we're going to do, it was 0.5. Oops. 5. Okay, and reverse. By the way, shortcut is enter. If you've just used the feature, you could click enter to repeat it. So right now, press enter. Perfect. Good. Enter. Good. And last time, enter. This time, 2, 5. I think it was. Voila. That's good. Okay, and basically, I'm going to do the exact same thing I did before. So finally got this part done. But the little ones here are good. Next part, we're gonna do the little rooms that I'll show you in the picture. Now we're gonna put our attention to these little ones. We're gonna use the same concept as we did here. Have a plane that starts a little above the roof and I extrude it downwards using up to next. And then for the little triangular part, I don't know if you could see, the triangular part extrudes a little bit out and goes to the roof. So I'm going to use an offset plane for this surface because it's parallel. I'm going to extrude it like a millimeter out this way and then use the up to next function to extrude to the roof. And then we're going to pattern it. And I know that there's one here that is not included. I'll show you how to pattern and remove a single one or random other ones if needed. I took some measurements. The first row is about 40 millimeters after this. So I'm going to use the same concept to make plane, use top plane as reference. Again, I could use this, make a plane here and then measure it, or I know this distance. If ever I forget this distance, I have this measure tool. I put it up here, but you could search it up if you don't have it in this search command. So I know that this is 125. So here I could say 125 plus, I know it's 40 millimeters more high. So it's here, which is good. Now I'm going to sketch on this. I'm going to eye it. It seems to be at the middle of this side of the roof. And about, there's how many of them? There's 5 of them in the first row. And they start 25 millimeters from this, from here to here. So I'm actually going to take this middle point and this center point and make vertical. So they're in line. You see that still it's able to change size because I haven't dimensioned the actual size. So I think it was 10 millimeters. Okay, so we have our sketch plane and we want to go up to surface, let's say, or up to next once we switch the directions. So it brings it to the roof. I don't want to merge it. This is fine. Now, just so visually change, I think it should extrude out a little bit. Just a little more. I'm going to change the dimension a little bit. And I'm going to say, let's say 12. Okay. That's good. I'm going to save it. Okay, so I'm going to make a plane as we did for the chimneys here, referencing from the top to the height we want, which was 10 plus 125. But instead, extrude it in this direction instead of top to down. And I'll show you why later. By the way, all this can go in here too. New reference plane. We're going to use this direction, this plane as a reference, and I'm going to put it as the second reference. So that means it's parallel to this and goes through this trip point. Good. Now I'm going to do a sketch on this plane. Good. From here to here, this distance, I measured it at 25. I'm going to make this and this, say 10. Make it equal. You see that right now, the height is not fixed. So I'm going to make it the same height as here. The center of the square is in line with the midpoint of this edge. I'm going to actually make the part of the top triangular like this. Right now it's not highlighted. Just making sure these points are connected. And again, I want to make this vertically in line, and this height is also 10. Okay, now everything's black, everything's good. We have the sketch selected. I'm gonna extrude. I'm gonna do from the sketch plane, because that's where our custom plane is. I'm gonna switch the direction up to next was that coming. I don't know why sometimes it doesn't show, but let's do up to surface. Maybe because it's already intersecting the body. Let me see if I could try it again. Also, we didn't select it. That might help. Do other direction. Up to surface. Up to body, maybe. And do this. Okay, this seems good. I'm not gonna merge. Let's see it. Okay, not bad. And now, what a little detail I like to add is that the little roof here also extends out a little bit. So actually, I'm gonna modify the same sketch we just made, and I'm gonna do offset of this line, reverse it. Let's say 1 millimeter. Yeah, that seems good. Here I'm gonna say cap ends. That means that it closes the line. Let's do line or arcs. I'll do arc. Okay, so now I have this extruded out. I'm gonna highlight the same sketch, extrude. I'm gonna select only this part, and from here, this was what I was trying to explain before. I'm gonna offset it. Offset by, let's say, 1 millimeter. I want it extruding that way, and up to body, where the body is this. So here, okay, yeah, you see it. So here, this is the sketch plane. It extrudes 1 millimeter this way because I asked it this way. And again, I don't want to merge it. So that's good. Let's do it. Oh, look. It looks so cute. Okay. I'm going to combine this body and this body. There we go. Okay. I'm going to hide this plane. And as we remember, there is 5 of them across like this. So I'm going to, again, do a linear pattern. Direction this. It's not a feature, but I'm going to do body direction up to reference. Let's do that. The reference, I'm going to use centroid. It's not on the edge, so I don't need it to be exact. But up to reference, let's say here is 5 of them. And I don't want it exactly up to reference, but it's the same distance from here to here. So let's do it this way. What I'm basically saying is that I want to replicate this body here along this direction of this edge. I want to do it by giving a reference instead of just giving the spacing of 30 millimeters in between. I want to reference up to here, the surface, but offset by 25 millimeters. And I switch the direction, so instead of passing this way, it passes this way. That's good. I'm going to try something to see if I could do 2 directions. I just don't know if it'll work because it's on a slope. So let's see if it works. Surprise me. So in a direction, it's not vertical. I don't want to go up like this, or else it would be like this edge. I want it to go in an angle. Okay, so let's do this edge. This time I'm going to do spacing, and a double of each instance. Say 20. Okay, I can see that my first line is a little higher than it needs to be. It's not the mid. So maybe at the sketch plane, I'll move it down a little bit. We'll see. So you see it actually works because I put the direction as this sloped line. Now, I did say that in the image, we have 5 on the bottom. We actually have 4 on the top because this one is not there. So how do we do that? We can go to instances to skip. Here, it puts pink dots on all the ones that are selected. And I don't want this, so I unselect that. The third from row 2 is to be skipped. That's good, I like that. I just want to modify this and bring it down a little bit. Instead of making it just the midpoint horizontal, I'm going to delete this. I'm going to move it down a little bit. So let's say maybe this midpoint. Actually, select, right click, select midpoint. Let's see how that looks. Not good. I think I need to move the plane a little more outwards. I put it at the dots. So let's say move this. Let's try eyeballing it. Okay, let's say 40 in the other direction. Actually, I'm going to measure it so I know. So this is the midpoint that was originally. Here you can see that normal distance is 25. So if I wanted to come a little bit more out, so let's say 22. So basically, we this plane that we originally did our sketch on, we moved it a little bit in the negative X direction. So it extrudes out a little bit more than it did 1 minute ago. Okay, so this is looking good. Okay, last part of this section. We've done these little tiny windows. Now we have these big towers. So we have to figure out how we want to do it. If we want to simplify it, which I will. So all of them are hexagonic. They have 6 sides. So we could make a sketch parallel to the top plane. So looking down, have the plane offset and then extrude onto the roof, as we've done with the base here and the house. The house, we actually did it in this direction instead of up down. But same idea. And then just put a simple pyramid. So I'm going to do the same concept of having the hexagon drawn and then offsetting it on the interior to have these details. But I just thought of something. If I do a plane here and extrude it downwards to, let's say, next, for this it'll work, no problem. But for these, you see a part that extrudes here and a part that goes all the way down. So I think I'm better off putting a plane at a height I want, extruding it all the way, and then splitting it using the roof to remove the excess parts. I mean, I could technically keep it because it's a solid. You won't see it, but I think it's a good exercise to show you. So this will have a slightly different method of this. Let's try with the big one first. Okay, so again, plane. We'll do top. I could use this too, but let's just keep it consistent. I'll again use the shorthand version. Here is 215. Click on it to copy. So it's going to be 215 plus the height I want, which is 15. That's the top. That's where the hexagon will be sketched and extruded to the body. Okay, so this is fine. Let's sketch on it. I have a polygon here, 6 sides. That's good. And don't worry about it being offset. So I'll do that. And now we just need to put the size, which you could do as a diameter. I'm going to actually eyeball it. This one seems good. It's still not fully defined. It could be rotated like this. I could first of all do this and do parallel, or this, I want it to be vertical. Yes. Gives you a suggestion which one to choose. Yeah, I'll do this part first. The sketch. I'm going to extrude the whole thing. Well, you already had it selected. I'm not going to merge it from sketch plane. That's fine. To next. Yeah. That's how it's supposed to look. Yeah. Okay. That's good. Then for the cone. How are we going to do the cone? Let's do revolves so I could actually use 3D sketch. So here we have a regular one, but we also have 3D. So here you don't actually choose a plane. This could get a little confusing, but don't be scared to try. Okay, so what I'm going to do is actually do an axis. So I'm gonna do a construction line from here to here. That way it gives me a midpoint. Here, just be careful that you're going in the right direction. I want it to go vertical, so in the Y direction. There you go. And then I'm gonna give the heights that I want the conic part to be. 60. You know what? We're gonna make it a little dramatic. 75. Okay. So now using the revolve feature, I'm gonna make a 2D profile that's going to revolve around this axis to make it circular. I'm gonna do line. I'm gonna go from here to the midpoint here. Always rotate your camera to make sure you're selecting the right thing, because in 3D it is a little tricky. I want it to come out a little bit. I don't want to actually have this coincident line. Instead, I want it to pass a little bit. I'm going to make sure that this is along the X. I want to make sure that it's on this surface. And I'm going to actually make a dimension from here to let it to pass 1 millimeter. That's enough. I think that's good. So now we're going to use the revolve feature on this sketch. Revolve. No, why doesn't it work? Please hold. Okay, so quick Google search. Apparently you can actually use 3D Sketch for revolves. I'll keep it instead of redoing it. I'll do it on this front plane. It's already on the front plane. So I'll do sketch. I'll just convert it. Convert entities. I'm going to select change so it does everything. So now we have a 2D instead of a 3D. I can't delete this because this 2D sketch is referencing it. Okay, so let's do this. There you go. It selected my sketch. I select the contour. I want 360 axis of revolution. This one. I want to stick out a little bit more. Let's try it. 2 millimeters. You know what? 3. Go big or go home. Okay, that's better. Okay, that's good. I'll hide this. Again, we simplified the shape, but that's fine. It's supposed to be beginner. And lastly, we have these little parts, this and this, and then this little one. Okay. I'm actually going to use the same plane here because the hexagon prism all starts at the same height for the tower here and here. This one's different, but this one we could use the same. So I'm gonna do this, hexagon again. This time the middle is on here. This, and I'm gonna draw one and then mirror the other one. Okay, this one, let's say 15. Let's see 15 what it looks like. Okay, 15 looks good. The flat part should be here. So I'm gonna make it horizontal, and voila, it is fully dimensioned. I don't like using blind when I could help it, but let's do it for time's sake. 35 maybe? Okay, that seems good. 35 is good. Okay, actually, I forgot to do the offset parts. Yes. It's doing that because it doesn't know what contour to select when it's extruding. We want this. Okay, and then again, same idea as before. We go this. Select from surface this. And let's say 2 from surface, line, and contour. Okay, that's good. And last time, okay. Now you see that this actual body, let me show you here. It goes in and it's not really separated here. It doesn't have the lines, the edges. So we're going to split. Okay, so instead of using split, I'm going to use something I haven't actually used yet. It's intersect. So we take 2 bodies. We're going to create intersecting regions. And now it comes up with 3 bodies. 1, 2, 3, or 3 regions. There's this one, which is region 2. There's this one, region 1. And there's this one, which we can't see because it's inside. And I want to consume this region. Okay, so I'm going to do that. And you can see now that we have the edge that we want. There's this, and then there's the main that is here. Again, later you could rename all this. Right now, it's not my priority. And for the revolving feature, for the cone parts, I'm going to do exactly the same thing as here. So I'm going to speed it up. Now I'm going to do the last one. I forgot to do the offset. So once I exit out, it's going to give me a error. No problemo. Important is just to know why and understand. Good. Same thing. We're going to use the intersect, which is something I learned new today. So that's nice. We want to consume. And lastly, before I do the intersect, I want to do the little details that extrude because I want those to be cut too. So you can actually change the timeline. So you see right now it's not extruded. And do what you need to do and then extrude. I'm going to use the sketch again. From face is good. Blind. There. And lastly, here you could tell I didn't. There's a hole, so I didn't properly select. It's giving intersect error because we added bodies. Now let me just check if these are one body right now. Yeah. Okay. So you see that's why it can't intersect because right now it sees all this blue as one body. I'm gonna go and merge. Again, I'm gonna move this up, combine this. Okay. That should be good. And the last step of this part, right plane, make that little triangle. And I could use the right top and front plane because I made sure that my part is symmetric. I highly recommend you should always have your parts symmetric so you could actually take advantage of these. Anything you need to mirror and stuff, you don't need to recreate any planes. And it's more clean. Okay, dirt is good. We just need to do a couple mirrors. I'm going to save because sometimes with the mirror command it always crashes. This one's pretty simple, so it should be good. So again, I'm using my front plane as a mirror for this. I don't need to do features or faces. I do bodies. Perfect. And then I need to mirror all this. I just have to select all of them. You could also do it via the list here. There we go. First part done. When you go back to the image, you see all the details and the colors and you think, okay, the model is shit, but that's okay. It's not the point. Obviously, it's not going to be as pretty as this. But yeah, I like it. There's some details that I've omitted for simplicity's sake. So that is it for the first part. Next part, I'm going to focus this section. And then last part is just the little details and the little structures around it. I hope this was useful. I hope it was fun to follow along. I hope it'll inspire you to maybe not be scared to try to have a little fun with SolidWorks. Even me, that I've been using SolidWorks for a while now, and there's still stuff I learned from it. So if you like this type of content, let me know if what I'm putting out is appreciated. That way I continue. Or maybe this was completely useless. If that's the case, well, that'll be good to know. Thank you for watching. Until next time.